The carving knife trembled in my hand as I sliced into the turkey. But it was Dad's words that really drew first blood. "Natalie, you're out. No shares. No trust fund, nothing." The room went dead silent, forks hovering like guillotines, and I just smiled, because the real feast was about to begin. That Christmas Eve, under the Rockefeller tree we'd hauled in from Connecticut, I unwrapped the truth he'd buried for 15 years and watched it poison the whole damn family. I guess it started way back, before the money turned us all into strangers. We were the Harrisons, old money wrapped in new ambition, living in that sprawling brownstone on the Upper East Side where the doormen knew your sins better than your name. Dad, Edward Harrison, built an empire out of nothing but grit and a Rolodex thicker than the Bible. Wall Street whispers called him the Viper for how he'd slither into deals and strike when you least expected. Mom died when I was 10. Some bullshit about complications from a routine surgery that smelled like malpractice from a mile away. But Dad buried that too, along with her ashes in the family plot upstate. Left us with him, me, and my brother Jake, 2 years older. Golden boy with the Ivy League jawline and a trust fund smile that could charm a jury. I was the wild card. Always had been. While Jake prepped for Harvard Law, I ditched the cotillions for dive bars in Brooklyn, sketching graffiti murals that pissed off the neighbors and waitressing at a vegan joint in Williamsburg because, fuck it, I wanted to earn my own scars. Dad hated it. "You're throwing away the legacy, Nat," he'd growl over steak tartare at Le Bernardine, his eyes narrowing like I was a bad investment. But I loved him fierce. The way you love a storm, you respect the thunder, even when it rattles your bones. That all shattered sophomore year of college. I was at NYU, crashing on a friend's futon in the East Village, majoring in fine arts because who needs a safety net when you've got caffeine and charcoal? Jake was home for break, 22 and invincible, pounding shots at some rooftop party in the meatpacking district. He'd borrowed Dad's Bentley, black as sin, keys handed over with a wink and "don't scratch her, son." Around 2 a.m., state troopers fished him out of a ditch on the Taconic Parkway. Blood alcohol double the limit. The car wrapped around a maple like a bad metaphor for his life. The call came at dawn. I was bleary-eyed, nursing a hangover from cheap tequila, when Dad's number lit up my phone. "Get home. Now." No hello. No bullshit. I Ubered uptown, heart hammering like a bass drop, and found Jake in the foyer, ice pack on his forehead, Dad pacing like a caged wolf. The story spilled out in fragments, swerving to miss a deer. Overcorrected. Total loss. But the real gut punch? The passenger. Some girl from the party, Lindsay something, 18, sorority pledge, DOA on the scene. Blunt force trauma, they said. Jake swore it was an accident, that she grabbed the wheel laughing, but the skid marks told a different tale. Reckless endangerment, vehicular manslaughter, the charges would stick like tar, bury him before he could lawyer up. Dad didn't flinch. He looked at me, his only daughter, the one who'd always been the fixer in his eyes, the kid who patched up Jake's bloody noses after playground scraps, who covered for his shoplifted smokes from the bodega. "You were with him, Nat," he said, voice low and lethal. "You drove. We'll say you were dropping him off. Lie like that." And the headlines would read, "Heiress Heartbreak," instead of "Harrison, Heir Homicide." I stared at him, the man who taught me to ride a bike on Central Park paths, now handing me a noose disguised as loyalty. Jake mumbled apologies from the couch, eyes glassy with relief. not remorse. I took the fall. Signed the statement. Faced the judge in a borrowed Chanel suit that itched like guilt. Pleaded down to negligent homicide, community service, suspended sentence. A black mark on my record that NYU barely tolerated. Dad's lawyer spun it. Tragic mishap. Family's heartbroken. The tabloids ate it up. Socialite's reckless night ends in loss.
Jake?
Clean slate. Straight A's. Clerkship at Dad's firm. Engaged to a Vanderbilt by 25. I clawed through graduation. Bartending nights to pay for therapy sessions where I'd stare at the wall and wonder if the girl in the passenger seat haunted me more than the lie. 15 years later. That Christmas Eve, the ghosts came home to roost. We'd gathered like always, faux cheer masking the fissures. Jake and his wife. Perfect blonde Allison with a McKinsey pedigree. They're twins in monogrammed Patagonia puffers. Aunt Clara, Dad's spinster sister, nursing her third eggnog and side-eyeing the help. The brownstones smelled of pine and prime rib, Bing Crosby crooning from hidden speakers. But the air crackled like static before a blackout. Dinner was midway, crystal clinking like accusations, when Dad cleared his throat. He was 68 now. Silver temples framing a face carved from granite, but his eyes still held that viper gleam. Family meeting, he announced, folding his napkin like a surrender flag. We froze, Jake mid-bite, Allison cooing at the kids. Dad slid a folder across the table. Leather-bound, stamped with his monogram. The will's updated. Effective immediately. I knew it was bad when he wouldn't meet my gaze. Natalie, he started, voice steady as a closing bell. Your contributions. They've been noted. But the business, the properties, they go to Jake. You're off the will. Clean break. The words landed like a sucker punch. Off the will? After everything. The lie that derailed my life. The years of swallowing resentment while Jake climbed the ladder I built with my silence. Allison gasped theatrically. Jake shifted uncomfortably. But Dad? He just sipped his scotch. Like he'd axed a merger. Not his daughter. It's for the best.
Net så vitenskapelig.
You've made your choices, bohemian bullshit. That gallery flop in Soho. Time to stand on your own. Rage bloomed hot in my chest. But I played it cool. The way I'd learned in courtrooms and dive bars. Merry Christmas, Dad, I said. Voice honey over venom. I've got a gift for you, too. I reached under the table for the slim box I'd wrapped in butcher paper, red and white stripes. A bow tied sloppy like my heart. Inside, not a tie or a watch.
No, sir.
A USB drive. Matte black. Loaded with a motherlode. Court transcripts. Witness statements I'd FOIA'd last summer. Jake's old emails confessing the truth to a frat buddy. Even Lindsay's family's civil suit docs that Dad's team had buried with NDAs and payouts. But that was just the appetizer. The real meat? Audio files.
Me?
At 18, sobbing into a burner phone. I did it for you.
Jake.
For us. And Dad's voice. Clipped and commanding. Good girl. This stays buried. I'd hired a PI after a bad breakup last year. The kind of gumshoe who digs up skeletons for a retainer. Cost me my savings, but worth every cent when the recordings hit my inbox like Judgment Day. The table erupted as I slid the box his way. Aunt Clara choked on her drink. Edward. What the hell? Jake's face drained white. Fork clattering. Allison clutched her pearls, literal pearls, the kind that scream old money. Dad's hand hovered over the package, veins bulging like rivers on a map. Natalie, he hissed. Not here. Not now.
Oh.
Now's perfect, I shot back, leaning in, the fairy lights casting devil horns on his shadow. 15 years of family first, and this is how you repay it? By erasing me because I won't play debutante. The twins started wailing, sensing the fracture, and Jake lunged across the table, knocking over the Gruner Veltliner. Sis, please think about the kids.
Kids.
As if his spawn were collateral in my war. I laughed, bitter as burnt chestnuts. Your dad's the one who needs to think.
Jake.
About the manslaughter rap, you're still dodging. About how I perjured myself so you could play Prince. Dad snatched the box, ripping it open like it burned. The USB glinted under the chandelier. A tiny grenade. His eyes met mine then, real ones, not the boardroom steel. For a split second, I saw the man who'd read me Goodnight Moon, not the mogul. Regret? Fear? Whatever it was. It twisted my gut. But too late for sorries. Burn it, he whispered, voice cracking. For the family, I stood, chair scraping like nails on chalkboard. Family's overrated.
Dad.
Merry fucking Christmas. The door slammed behind me, snow swirling on Fifth Avenue. But the real blizzard was just starting. I didn't see it then. But that gift, it wasn't just payback. It was the match that lit the whole dynasty on fire. The fallout hit like a nor'easter, burying the brownstone under drifts of lawyers and leaked headlines. By Boxing Day, the New York Post splashed it across page 1. Harrison airs dark secret, sister spills blood for brotherson. Yeah, they spelled our name wrong, but the damage stuck. I holed up in my walk-up in Bushwick, the kind of place with exposed brick and roaches that paid rent in stories, chain-smoking camels on the fire escape, while my phone blew up. Jake's texts, you're ruining everything.
Net så vitenskapelig.
Call me. Allison's voicemails. All ice and vowels. How could you? The children are traumatized. And Dad, radio silence. Except for the process server, who showed up with a cease and desist thicker than a phone book. I didn't care. Not really. 15 years of biting my tongue, of watching Jake get the corner office while I scraped by on freelance graphic gigs and the occasional mural commission from bleeding heart nonprofits. That lie had cost me more than a rap sheet. It stole my shot at normal. Dates ghosted when the Google search popped up, heiress manslaughter. Galleries passed on my shows because too controversial. Therapy? A joke. No shrink wants to unpack a family vault full of vipers. But revenge? That's a different beast. It simmers slow, then boils over, leaving you wondering if you're the hero or the villain. Mine started in earnest that New Year's, hungover on a stoop in the Lower East Side, watching fireworks pop over the Williamsburg Bridge like distant gunfire. I'd kept backups. Of course, cloud drives. Encrypted emails to a burner account.
The PI.
A grizzled ex-cop named Frankie with a bum knee and a moral compass tuned to cash. Fed me more dirt weekly. Turns out, Lindsay's family never cashed out fully. Her mom, a schoolteacher from Poughkeepsie, had squirreled away copies of the crash report, the ones showing Jake's prints on the flask in the glove box. Not mine. I reached out to her cold email. Subject line. Your daughter's truth. We met in a diner off the turnpike. Formica table sticky, with syrup ghosts. Her face lined like a roadmap of grief. Why now? She asked, stirring tea she wouldn't drink. I told her about the will, the Christmas gutting. She nodded, eyes hard as flint. Edward Harrison paid us to forget. But forgetting ain't forgiving. By week's end, we'd lawyered up together, her pro bono from a scrappy firm in Yonkers, mine a shark from legal aid with a grudge against Wall Street. Class action vibes, wrongful death, fraud, the works. Jake's empire? Teetering. Dad fought dirty. As expected. First came the olive branch, a check for $5 million. Overnight to my P.O. box with a note. Come home. We fix this. I torched it in a coffee can, the flames dancing like schadenfreude. Then the dirt digging, PIs tailing me to bars, digging up my one-night stands. Even that time I shoplifted lipstick from Sephora at 23. Broke and bitter. Tabloids ran with it. Black sheep's blemishes. Was the fall a frame job? Jake called from a block number. Voice slurred like old times. You always hated me.
Didn't you?
Jealous little bitch. I hung up, but the words lodged like shrapnel. Spring thawed the city. Dogwoods blooming in Washington Square, like false hope. And the hearings kicked off in federal court downtown. Marble halls echoing with depositions. Jake in his Brioni suit sweating under fluorescence. Dad's viper stare fixed on the horizon. I took the stand first. Voice steady as I recounted that night. The handover of keys. The forged statement. The judge's gavel like a death knell. I did it for family, I said, locking eyes with Dad across the room. But family's just a pretty word for codependence. The press ate it alive. CNN panels debated. Loyalty or liability. The Harrison betrayal. Feminists hailed me as a whistleblower. Conservatives decried me as a family wrecker. Social media? A dumpster fire. Natalie Vindictive trending with memes of me as the Grinch in Louboutins. Aunt Clara broke ranks. Leaking old letters from Mom. Edward's always covered for Jacob. Don't let him do the same to you. Darling. It humanized me. Or so the pundit said. But inside, I was unraveling. Nights blurred with gin and takeout lo mein. Sketching Lindsay's face from faded photos, soft jaw. Laughing eyes. Gone too soon. Twist came mid-May. Right as the judge greenlit discovery. Frankie called at midnight. Voice gravel over static. Your old man's got skeletons deeper than we thought. Turns out, Mom's complications? Not malpractice. Dad's affair, some intern at the firm. 20 years his junior, led to a back-alley clinic visit. Pills to handle it. Mom found out. Confronted him. The surgery was elective. A hysterectomy to spite him. But the anesthesia masked an allergic reaction they covered up. Homicide adjacent. If you squinted. And Jake? He'd known since law school. Buried it in Dad's files to protect the throne. I confronted him in the lobby of One Pen. Rain sheeting the glass like tears. He was leaving a meeting, umbrella furled, looking every inch the air. You knew about Mom? I hissed, shoving the file printouts at his chest. He glanced down, face paling. Net. It's not. Save it. Golden boy. You're as poisoned as him. But as security ushered me out, Jake grabbed my arm, first real touch in years. I was gonna tell you. After the wedding. Please.
Cease.
This destroys us all.
His eyes.
Bloodshot.
Mirored mine.
For a heartbeat, I saw the brother I'd bandaged. Not the betrayer. Pity? Or manipulation? Hard to tell when the viper blood runs thick. The case ballooned. Lindsay's mom pushing for punitive damages that'd gut the estate. Dad countersued for defamation. Emotional distress. The kitchen sink. Board meetings leaked. Harrison Holdings stock dipped 12%. Whispers of a hostile takeover from some hedge fund vulture. Jake's engagement imploded. Allison cited irreconcilable scandals, fleeing to her parents' Hamptons pile with the twins. Aunt Clara hosted a solidarity brunch. Egg Benedict and empire crumbling. But even she hedged. Edward's a bastard. But blood's blood.
Naturvidenskabelig.
Summer scorched the asphalt, and doubt crept in like humidity. Was I avenging Lindsay? Or just salving my wounds? Therapy sessions devolved into rants. He made me the monster, so he could play saint. My shrink, a no-nonsense broad from Jersey, leaned back. Revenge is a mirror.
Kid.
What do you see staring back? Nightmares followed. Lindsay in the passenger seat, whispering, "Let it go," while Dad's viper uncoiled around us all. By Labor Day, settlement talks loomed. Dad requested a sit-down neutral ground, the Four Seasons bar, all brass and hush. I showed. Black dress armor. Hair pulled tight. He looked diminished. Suit hanging loose. Scotch untouched. "You win, Natalie," he said. Sliding papers over. Full inheritance reinstated. Plus 10 mil for past grievances. His hand shook. I was wrong. About the will. About everything. I scanned the docs. Fine print blurring. Victory tasted like ash. Too late.
Dad.
The truth's out. Can't unring that bell. But as I stood to leave, he grabbed my wrist, gentle, like when I was small. I did it to protect you. The fall, it hardened you. Made you strong.
Lie.
Confession? The line blurred. I walked out into the steam, city pulsing like a fever dream. The present I'd given? It shook the family. Sure. But the aftershocks? They were shaking me apart. Fall stripped the leaves from Gramercy Park, leaving us all exposed, bare branches clawing at a sky the color of regret. The settlement conference dragged into October. A conference room in Midtown smelling of stale coffee and desperation. Lindsay's mom sat across, flanked by her shark, eyes hollow but unyielding. Jake fidgeted in the corner. Ty Askew, the golden boy tarnished to fool's copper.
Dad?
He commanded the head, but the viper was molting, shoulders slumped, voice a rasp. Let's end this, he said, pen hovering over the dotted line. 20 mil to the family. Public apology in the Times. Jake steps down as COO. My terms, basically. But as signature scrawled, something twisted in my gut. Victory? Or just another layer of the lie? We spilled out onto Park Avenue. Wind whipping yellow cabs into blurs. Dad caught my elbow, first voluntary touch since the turkey carving. Dinner? Just us.
No plea.
Just quiet. Like the man who'd once built forts from Financial Times. I nodded, against every screaming instinct. The restaurant was his pick, Peter Luger, Brooklyn Steakhouse, where deals were sealed in blood and béarnaise. We sat in a booth scarred by decades of power plays, the sizzle from the grill mocking our silence. He ordered for us fillets rare, the way Mom liked, and for a while, it was just the clink of knives. Then, I never meant to break you.
Naturvidenskabelig.
His eyes, whiskey-veined.
Serket mine.
The accident. Jake was spiraling.
Booze.
Girls, the pressure I heaped on. If he'd gone down, the whole thing crumbled. You were tough. Resilient. I thought you'd bounce. Bounce?
Ide shut up.
You turned me into the villain.
Dad.
For him. For the Empire. Words hung heavy, but he didn't flinch. Instead, he slid an envelope across, yellowed, sealed with wax. Read this. After. I pocketed it, storming out into the night, the steak congealing in my stomach. Back in Bushwick, rain lashing the windows like accusations. I tore it open. Mom's handwriting, looping and fierce. Edward, if you ever sacrifice our girl for your sins, I'll haunt you from the grave. Dated a week before the surgery. Below, Dad's scrawl. Forgive me,
Catherine. For all of it.
Turns out, he'd confessed to her, the affair, the cover-up plans for Jake's future fuck-ups. She demanded the hysterectomy as penance. Cut it out of you, like you cut truth from us. The allergic reaction?
Noxidin.
Pills she'd palmed from his desk, his mistress's stash, laced with something lethal. Suicide by proxy. Or murder by marriage. The note ended. Natalie knows none of this. Protect her, or lose her. The world tilted. Mom hadn't died innocent. She'd weaponized her end. A final fuck you to the viper who'd poisoned their bed. And me, the unknowing pawn in a chess game of grudges. I confronted Jake at dawn, pounding on his door in Tribeca, glass tower penthouse, view of the Hudson mocking his fall. He answered in boxers. Bleary. Bottle nearby. What now?
Nat?
You gonna sue me too? Worse, I said, shoving the letter at him. He scanned it, face crumpling like wet newsprint.
She. God.
I found it in Dad's safe. Senior year. That's why I buried it. We were all monsters. He sank to the floor, sobs racking him. Not pretty, not performative. Brother to sister.
Raw.
I love you. Okay? Always did. But I was scared shitless. Still am. Pity flooded me. Unwanted as floodwater. The man who'd stolen my youth. Now just a fuck up like me. We sat there till sunrise, trading truths over cold pizza from the night before, his coke binges in law school, my abortion at 24 that I never told a soul, Dad's tears at Mom's funeral, real ones. Frankie had caught on tape. Family, fractured but fused in the fault lines. The twist hit November 1st. Election night, buzz in the air like ozone. Dad called a stroke. Massive. In his office, overlooking the exchange. I raced to Mount Sinai. Jake already there. Pacing ICU tiles worn smooth by tycoon's regrets. Machines beeped dirge. Dad's hand limp in mine. Monitors graphing his fade.
He asked for you, the doc said.
Before. In the dim room, oxygen hissing like secrets, Dad's eyes fluttered open, hazel, like mine. Nat. Saw the whisper, but it carried. The will.
Fake.
You were always in. Test. He coughed. Wet and final.
Proud.
My girl.
Test?
The Christmas disownment, a ploy to jolt me into the fight. To unearth the rot before it consumed us? Or one last manipulation? Viper to the grave? Jake squeezed my shoulder. He told me last week. Wanted you to lead. After. Dad flatlined at 3:17 a.m., the city asleep under a Trump rerun on the TVs. We buried him beside Mom in Westchester. Gray November drizzle turning the plot to mud. The will reading? A farce. Me as executor. Full control of Harrison Holdings. Jake as advisor. Not heir. Lindsay's family got their check. No strings. Her mom hugged me at the funeral, whispering, Justice ain't clean, but it's ours. Epilogue: I sold the brownstone, turned the Soho Gallery into a nonprofit, murals for the voiceless, scholarships for girls who take falls. Jake sobered up, started a firm for pro bono wrongful convictions. We're civil now, Thanksgiving truces over turkey that no one carves. But the present I gave, it shook us.
All right.
Shook out the lies. Left us standing on cracked ground. Was it revenge or redemption? Heroism or hubris? Folks still argue in comment sections and barstools. Natalie Harrison, avenger or arsonist?
Me?
I sketch it all, vipers uncoiling.
Ghosts at the feast.
Because in America, family's just another deal. High stakes. No takebacks. And the house always wins a little. But damn if we don't try to rig the table.